Well, hi guys and girls, welcome back to Spareroom. Emma again. It's part 7 of this Dynamo build, Prince. Last time we made up this armature shuttle, and the next bits we need are the end caps, which basically have a hole for a 1/4" shaft. I've messed around with some drawings a few times and come up with a couple of things. Probably they look nice with a bit of a belly in them and a bit of clearance under the middle, and a little bit sort of pleasant and an Edward end, but I've just gone for flat and both exactly the same, so they're pretty simple pieces. And to be honest, if we can shorten this casting up any at all, when we get the bearing blocks on, we probably will. So at this point the design's still pretty fluid, but these I'm going to make out aluminium to keep the weight down a bit. So I've gone and bought a bit of 20 by 50 aluminium, and first job is to cut a bit off that with the hacksaw, because I can't find my slit and saw arbor and it's square and too much effort to part off, so I'm just going to hacksaw that off. And when we've got a bit, we're going to set it up in the 4-jaw chuck, the centre in it, and machine this boss on here, in the first one. In the back they'll have a recess for, or a step or a register, just to fit that hole. And eventually they'll have 2 holes bored in. The spot drilled through from there. So let's get in and do it. So while the camera was charging, I've set this up and cut a piece off and set him up to centre there and face him off. Next thing is to put this step on here, which is 7.5mm deep, and it's got to be a 16mm spigot sticking out. That's fairly straightforward turning. We're just going to get in and have a nice sharp tool there. Aluminium's funny doughy stuff to turn, you probably all know that, but we should be able to get reasonable finish and get him down to size, so I'm going to do that now. So I've got a step there that's about 7.6 this way and 16mm pretty precisely that way. They don't even have to be particularly precise, but it'd be nice to get both of them looking the same. So last job really is just to run a cut along the face there. And clean up the burrs, that'll be next, and we're going to drill him and ream him. So I've drilled this at 6mm, which is a fraction under 1/4 inch, and I bought myself a brand new 1/4 inch hand reamer. I'm just going to chuck that and run it through with a bit of oil. So next job is to cut this off or part it off. probably it'd part okay this close to the chuck, and we could start again. I might try that first, but if I don't have any luck, I'm just going to cut him, take him out and cut him off with a hacksaw. If I don't have to set him up again, that'd be really nice, but let's see how we go. Well, that parted off remarkably easy. I'm pleased with that. Didn't quite drill through far enough, I don't think, to go right through. It might be a mistake I won't make on the next one. But by the time it cleans up, it should have a hole right through. So that's not a huge deal. And that's the first piece up to that stage. I might just go ahead and make another one, as Keith Fenner says, and we'll have a look when they're both done. And there's the second one. So these need a bit of a clean up still. This one's still reasonably warm because I didn't use a whole lot of oil. It just makes a mess and interrupt the cut. But they're going to go on there like that. Next job, I guess, is probably to run a reamer through them and to set them up on the shafts. And we'll set them up in a collet and we'll machine the back with the register to go on there. The two shafts are really straightforward. They're just two bits of 1/4 inch silver steel. Machine each end and chamfer filed on. Not much to them. They're pretty simple. And they're both approximately the same length. I don't think it matters very much either way, but they look okay. With a chamfer, these are going to press in really nicely in here, and I don't think I'm even going to bother Loctite them. I might put a fraction a little bit on them, but there's not a huge lot of distance or gap in there, so probably I'm just going to put them in the drill press, and I'll use the drill press to press them in nice and tight and see how they look. So in the end, I've actually put some Loctite on these because I don't think they're going to hold an aluminium particularly well. Hopefully this is enough. I'm thinking about a pin, but I'm not sure if that's overkill or whether it's going to be very easy to get tight in aluminium anyway. So they were a good push fit, and I've just used the drill press with a block on it. Push them in nice and square if you get them lined up right. Just to push them in, and we're going to clean the excess off and wait for the Loctite to dry, and we might have a bit of a clean up and start thinking about machining them on the other side with the register. So it's the next day. I gave that Loctite plenty of time to cure. I've machined this down, just put him in a collet and machined him down to 3mm, which is about as thin as I'm comfortable about going. And it's all nice and parallel and straight, which I'm really pleased about. I'm going to put an outtake in here and say that I've made quite a few of these that were no good. This is the first one I made, which was, it's got a shaft in there that's not quite straight. This one's got, yeah, it's just rough, it's not going to work. This one's got an oversized hole. So YouTubers don't tend to show outtakes, and life's too short really, but sometimes you've got to make more than one of something to get it right, especially when you're making the first one or a prototype. But anyway, we've got that down to 3mm. What it needs now to go in there is just a recess or a step that will fit in, a register I guess, and that needs to be done. So what I'm going to do is turn this tool, I think, around and just use it to machine outwards there until we get into the right diameter. And I've been messing with this off camera for a little while. This has got a pretty nice register there, measured as close as I can, and it seems to be a good fit. It's 40.2, something like that, which is almost exactly what the register on the shuttle is. I've gone in reasonably deep there. Now I've trying to do them each operation at a time so we get them set right, and I've just taken a note of what the saddle dial is, and we're going to make the other one exactly the same, I think. So if we slip that one out and put the other one in, and we'll do the same thing. And we haven't worried too much about the centre. There's a bit of a bump there because I haven't gone right to the centre with the tool, but we're going to clean that up afterwards. So they're a pretty good fit there. That's really nice, and this one was the same. Let's just push on fit there. There. Now, I haven't showed this, but what I've done is drilled these and fitted a couple of screws, and that should be all right. I've got to do the same to this one, and there's not a whole lot to see really. A lot of careful hand filing and fitting, and making sure everything's nice and clean before it goes together. All I've really done is mark them on centre and drilled them a fraction oversize, and they didn't quite fit, so I filed them oval. Probably took 10-15 thou out of them to get the screws in, but it's pretty time consuming. The only other real job is to set this up between centres and machine the outside to fit in the magnet. So I'm going to take an hour or so and get this one set up too, and then we might just check him for out of round and out of balance and stuff. That feels pretty good to me, but we might just set him on a couple of knife edges or set him between centres with a DTI and the lathe and just see how we go with that. And then we've got to machine this down, and that's a fairly time consuming job because I'm only going to take 0.1 of a millimetre at a time or something on that. So next job, basically clamp these up and mark them with a height gauge each side to get the centre, and then mark these this way, the centre, punch them and drill them. And here's a trick for transferring a line from one part to the other. I've done is put a tool maker's clamp on that ruler and set that up so that the ruler's right on centre. If we turn that over, then we can just scribe a line across there. So that's a pretty straightforward little job. So we got all that assembled, and it's not bad. We're looking at run out there of about one and a bit thou. I'm pretty happy with that. I was expecting to get it to within about 4 or 5 thou, would have been probably close enough, but that's really nice. There's a couple of jobs we haven't done. I haven't machined the inside of them, and probably I'm just going to file them off flat, set them up and file them off carefully. It's probably not a huge deal to set it up. We've got to turn this tool around again anyway, so whether we do that or whether we just machine the outside, machine them back again with the tool on the collet, it's got to come apart to do that anyway. And it needs to be marked with a centre punch, tap tap and tap 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 tap, so that it goes back together in the right spot again next time. And then we need to set it up between centres. To do that, and I tossed up about this, I haven't put a centre drill in the end because it looks ugly on a model and you can't find one small enough. What I'm actually going to do is make a reverse centre. I get a piece of bar and put in the tailstock chuck and drill it from the headstock and leave it in position while I set it up. So that's what we're going to do there. Anyway, some little centre punch marks, and I'm going to quickly machine these off nice and flush and smooth, and then we'll look at setting it up between centres. So I ended up just machining these out nice and parallel here and smooth, just so the windings don't touch. I don't think they will, but it just looks a little bit nicer. And I've got a bit of brass, just a piece of 1/2 inch brass, and I've got a spot drill in the collet and put a taper in there, and we've set this up in the collet to drive it, and back here in the centre nice. So have a look, that's running beautifully. I'm really impressed with that. And here's the scariest operation of the lot, and it's the last one. So if I stuff this up, I stuff everything up. So what I'm going to do is just slowly take a little bit off there. It might take a while. Well, we're getting there. There's still a fair bit to come off there, probably another millimetre, but it's cleaning up nice. It's nice and parallel there, everything looks really good. However, the astute viewer will notice that this shaft started to creep a little bit through here because of the tailstock pressure. It's not a huge deal at this point. I can easily machine it off again, and there's still plenty of length on the shaft. And once the commutator's on there, there's no way of getting it reversed in the thing anyway, so that should be good. But what I've done is drilled and tapped these and put a couple of decent big screws in here, so hopefully that'll stop it moving anymore. They're well into they're tapped down probably a millimetre or more into the steel, so they should be good. And when I'm out during the week, I'll find a couple of nice grub screws to go in there just to finish it off. So they'll do for a bit. That's all I had. Let's do some more machining. I'm only taking 1/4 hour, 0.1 of a millimetre off at a time there, so it's a fairly slow process.
There's another cut. I'm going to go till this cleans up nice, and I know that that's going to be a fraction oversize. So I'm just going to do that, and then we're going to start measuring it. So it's getting a bit late now, but that's pretty well down to size. I reckon that's a pretty good fit there. I don't think it wants much air gap there at all. I really can't find a lot of information about that, but I was sort of thinking 5/10 thou would be plenty, and that's probably about what it's got. If we can get it to run nicely in that, I'd be very impressed. So now it's just a matter of breaking edges and things. We've just cleaned those screws up a little bit, so the heads are a fraction big. We might just try standard Umbracos in that instead of pan heads, and see if we can get something a little bit smaller in the head. If not, we'll dress some up so they look a bit neater. The only other last job to do, and it's going to take me a minute, is to pull this apart again and to just machine the end of that spigot down nice and neat again so that you can't tell. And we're going to call this part finished. So that's been quite a weekend's work. It's actually in the magnet there with the shaft on it. I'm fairly pleased with that. I think that the 2 grub screws will be a worthwhile investment in there, and probably not so much that this needs any more of a clean up, but this here probably could do with a rub with a wooden drum with some emery paper around it. Maybe if we can make something up to just dress that up, wouldn't hurt. So anyway, we're going to call that a wrap. Thanks for watching, guys, and thanks to all my new subscribers. You probably noticed too that I've changed the name of the channel to Spareroom Machine Shop, which is what I've sort of been putting up the top anyway for a while, and I hope that hasn't confused too many people, but we've got that sorted. And thanks for watching. More soon. Don't forget to subscribe, and hey, give us a thumbs up too.